Tell us, say action. Action. Okay. All right, so the first part of what we're going to talk about, so part one of our little demonstration today is talk about the sizes of the objects in our solar system. So with the diagrams we've learned about, the things we studied in the book, we learned about what order the planets are in, what other planets there are, we learned about what the planets look like, what other objects are in the solar system, all that kind of stuff. What's hard to learn about in the book is how big things are compared to one another. So even though we know what planet's the largest planet? Okay, Jupiter. So Jupiter is the largest. We know the sun is the biggest object in the solar system, but we can't really quite accurately show or compare how big they are compared to one another in reality. So what we're going to do today is create like a scale model, just like we did in our math class where we had that problem about shrinking down the tower to a size of 1/100th the scale. I did a similar thing using some math skills a few years ago. I put this together that demonstrate the same thing. Show how small things get when we shrink them down, but also help us compare. So our big basis for comparison is just basketball is going to represent the sun, okay? Everything else, if we shrink down the sun to this size, everything else shrunk down the same size is all going to be allowing us to compare how kind of in reality, everything else is much smaller, okay? So the sun here is going to be our first point of comparison, okay? So like we said, Jupiter is the next biggest object in the solar system. Play ball represents how big Jupiter would be compared to the sun, okay? So Jupiter is still very large, but again, compared to the sun, pretty small, all right? So we can see that. Now again, every other planet is much smaller than this, okay? Now again, we're also going to spread these out, but here's our sun, here's our Jupiter, very small compared to that, all right? But then things get much smaller, okay? So the other things are so small, I actually just put them onto a little card. We, of course, live on Earth. And if I compared Earth to Jupiter, this is how big the Earth would be. It would just be this little blue dot on the on here. Can you see it on the video? There it is for Lily and Nicholas at home. So Earth compared to Jupiter would be just that little blue dot. Earth compared to the sun, just be that little blue dot compared to the big, big sun. So that is kind of one of those things where you can realize we're just this little tiny blue dot out there in the solar system. And even though we think of ourselves as big, like that tree out there is big, like Nick High School is big, but compared to like other things, compared to like the solar system, it can make you feel very small and insignificant. You're right. But we're not insignificant. We live wonderful lives and we learn great things. But it does help us see like we're just little tiny, you're just one little dot on this little dot out there in this big solar system. And again, when we go out to the football field, think about that as well. We spread ourselves out and show you how far away things are. Who knows what the next closest planet in size is to Earth? There's one planet that's really close in size. Venus. Venus is called our sister planet because it's closer to us and it's about the same size. It's just a little bit smaller, but just like Earth is a blue little dot, Venus would be a little dot as well. And Venus we've seen in the textbook is like that orangish kind of color, that cloudy carbon dioxide atmosphere. Venus would be this little dot too, okay? Then, what else can we talk about? The inner planets we're still going to talk about. Frankie, what else do we need to talk about? Mars, sure, let's talk about Mars. Mars is actually about half the size of Earth. You might think Mars is pretty close in size, but it's actually about half the size. So that's going to be this little red dot on here. Again, hard to see there in the back of the class, right? So again, Mars compared to Earth would be that little dot there. Again, all these things compared to the sun, little tiny objects compared to that out in our solar system. What's the question? Mercury is next. Wouldn't you know it? Yeah. Mercury is actually very small. Of course, we know it's the smallest planet. Mercury, I basically for Mercury just did like a little dot with my pencil. Okay. Mercury is about 1/4 the size of the Earth, almost a little, not quite a little bit bigger than that. But here it's like in the back of the class, you can't even see there's a little tiny dot on there. So that's going to be our Mercury compared to the sun. Mercury is super, super tiny. Okay, so now with these examples we're doing, we're starting to understand how small we are, how big other things are compared to us, but we still need to do the other part, which is how far away those objects are, okay? So that's what we're going to do when we go outside. So I'm going to pause the video here, and Lily and Nicholas will see you out there in just a second, okay? All right. Action! Action! We're back. Okay, we're outside now. We've got our model set up. Just now, we've kind of created the model, and we've got our walk to go. So there he is. All right, hard for me to see on my screen. All right, we're gonna start walking through. First stop is gonna be Mercury. We've got Lainey. Lainey, show us Mercury. There's Mercury. Okay. Laura. Laura is gonna be Venus. And oh, next go to Mars. Carla's gonna be on Mars. Okay. Mars. Next is going to be Jupiter, and along the way to get to Jupiter, we got to go through an asteroid belt. Asteroids. We're going through the asteroid belt. Hopefully we don't crash. Got to go all the way here, and you're wondering which one's Jupiter. We got our asteroid. We're still going through that. Oh, here comes one. Oh, no. It's a dancing asteroids. Here they go. All right. So Vivian is actually our Jupiter, and we're still not there. So if you remember from the first part of the demonstration, it's the clay ball, and we're almost as far out. So even if we shrink things down to size, we've got to go all the way out here to the scoreboard from where that sun is, and we're going to look back at a crazy solar system. I can hear them behind me. Here's Vivian with our Jupiter. In that clay ball, it's pretty large compared to everything else, but I don't even know if you got solar system modeled. We have to come all the way out here, and we use the whole thing all the way out here to the scoreboard from the opposite end of the field. We talked about Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. We can't even fit in this model. We'd have to go all the way over to McNick, and that's just a little too far away. But it takes all this space just to even get to the first few planets in our solar system. And that's the big fun thing for the day. Sorry you guys couldn't be here to experience it, but it is a fun little demonstration. Hopefully you get an idea. Again, this guys go. Hopefully you get to see this and it comes through okay. Bye. And we'll hopefully see you guys soon and talk to you later, okay?